Hello, everybody. Welcome. So, I'm going to be doing this briefly. I don't want to miss anything with the thing, but it goes for 2 hours, about the same as the other group time, actually. Um, but I think I will go wash off even the wrinkly clothes, and I have to gather myself a little bit. But I just wanted to do a really quick video, or hopefully really quick. I mean, like I say, I do have a bit of a timeline, but I think this will be at least 15 minutes, half an hour. So, and we'll see kind of um, how people come into it. And then, I'll have the latter half of the day to myself. So I just wanted to, let's see here. So the first part of the title, I'm going to do this. I try and be systematic or sequential because I think it makes a lot of sense, but sometimes it doesn't happen as easily. But basically, there's a group that I'm wanting to attend today, and I had thought it was in the afternoon. I don't know what reason being. As I mentioned in one of my other podcasts, I took a workshop recently. Wasn't feeling great and was too distracted and such. And the day was going, ironically, kind of fast to take the second one. But while I was there, I did find out that there was something else happening there on that day at that time that I was kind of wanting to go to. I'm just noticing a spot on the plant. I want to, if I can. And I'm leaving the dog down there because I'd be up here for a couple hours. Anywho, that I also kind of wanted to go to, so I'd assumed that it was the same thing, and that workshop finished last week. So I thought, okay, I'll go to this week then. And there's an upcoming event in May, actually, that I'd really like to go to. I can't foresee how they're doing it because one of the things is a barbecue, and it's in a pretty busy strip mall, I guess you would call it, like a plaza. And I don't know what the space behind it is like, come to think of it. I don't know if there really is much of one. So they might just be bringing stuff inside. I don't know. Barbecue. Like where they're not going to have random, oh, welcome, but they're not feeding the whole neighborhood, essentially. But basically, why I titled it Angel's Interception, I think that's the word I want to use, at the beginning, and just kind of coaxing it out, is because, and I mean, that's a topic I can delve deeper into as well, and sometimes I have, actually, on this channel, but basically, I had some papers I wanted to look through, trying to sort. And I had stuff on my device, and I was actually, as I'm trying to wake up, finding it really hard to also focus. But I knew that one of the things I wanted to look back at was their social media page, just to browse it. And I guess I don't know, there was something in the back of my mind that was telling me, just double check the details, of this. Because I hadn't really seen them in a while, and I wasn't entirely sure, I guess. Their social media page, they don't do much on their website, but that's almost common, I guess. But some people, like the older people that don't use social media. Anywho, point of the matter is that they have, as long as I have about an hour and 10 minutes if I arrive on time. If I'm a little bit late, that wouldn't be a problem. But I might miss intros, which, they probably try and do every week, even if most people are familiar with each other. I mean, if they know that everybody is, that's one thing. But if there's a new person, I haven't been to a group in a while like this. Or I haven't been to this group, actually. But basically, so I went away from the tab, but I plugged in the search again. I don't know why I did it that way, to be honest. And the very top thing it showed me before actually going onto the page, like just, as one of their posts. And when was it from, actually? Let's see. I don't even know if it was recent. February 6th. Is about the group that I'm wanting to go to. And lo and behold, it's happening in the morning, not the afternoon, which in a way is kind of good because there's rain in the air and forecasted for later, and I'd be going on foot. Not that I can't use an umbrella. Our umbrella's good, but old and not in the best shape. But like otherwise, like a good quality. But if it's too windy, that's the other thing. And then if it's windy and wet, it's just not pleasant, right? But in fact, a neighbor across the street, although I don't remember what right, I do. Yeah, the temperature's not too bad. She still had a furry hood and a hat, I believe, and gloves. And the person was here for like a minute or two, and then they left. But anyway, so for this example, why I'm calling it angel interception is because it's like, even though February 6th is, either somebody's back, somebody just tuned in, welcome, is what, almost 3 months ago, I guess now, right? Yeah, I mean, we're almost at the end of April, or we are actually. But I noticed that I don't actually remember. I definitely had made my way into March when I was looking last night and earlier this morning before I got distracted. So then so it may or may not have been much further scrolling or whatever. Anyway, I feel like my loved one who actually passed of this. I heard somebody actually. I don't remember the details. I don't know. I must have been a little distracted. Or I don't know. Trying to say the difference between, as Virgo goes, patience, not patience, difference between disorder, I believe it was. Oh, someone's back. Either you're having a connection problem or it's just different people coming in. But welcome. Don't be shy. I'm just going to make sure I have the comments on. I don't have a ton of time, but I have some. The difference between, what was it, disorder and, it's almost not worth sharing this because I don't remember it exactly. But I know that in one of my recent videos, I didn't want to use disease. I didn't want to say disorder. So I said condition. And I think I like that. It's a nicer word. She passed of this. And, like with my telepathy, I feel like my friend has told me, if you feel like it would be something good for you to go to, that you get something from it, and it would be something, nice to do in your day, cool. I'm helping you realize that it's not in the afternoon, as the viewer goes. And so you don't have a lot of time. Yeah, so don't make your YouTube video too long. I mean, it happens. I lose track of time, and a lot of times when I'm doing these, I don't have, anything like huge like I have to rush to right away. I usually have quite a bit of time, and yeah, you lose track of time sometimes. But yeah, I have not much actually. It's moving as we speak, as it does, right? Hopefully the dog's being okay. I mean, he found a pencil the other day, and I don't know how the heck he got that. I'm tempted to get him up here before my shower. Anywho, but yeah, so I just felt like she was kind of bringing it to be. Now, I just want to really quickly try and address some of the other things in the title before I finish up here. And I had to repaste it into the comment area just for my own reference. Loved ones at funerals. Okay, so I believe it would have been in here, or maybe it was just in a message to somebody. I was saying, well, first of all, with experiences I've had and that I've heard of other people having in general. Oh, it's when I click that. Life goes on in a different place. Heaven, for the good people. And I'm not necessarily saying those that have, strong religious beliefs, and we don't have to get into debate about that. But it's comforting to feel that our loved ones are there. The only reason I believe in reincarnation is if it's like, I guess my brother didn't know this. I sent it to him, a picture of a hawk. And it says, do you know what this means? And he says, no, you'll have to tell me. I mean, our dad passed away 25 years ago, something like that. Maybe it was just something me and mother experienced as far as seeing the hawks a lot more around that time. And then there's a similar story with my grandmother, who also had babies. But, we lived in the country, but we never really saw very many. And then we saw a bunch, and then a bunch became one. And we'd see it flying along by our cars. Flying beside us as we're driving along, and but my brother had a different brother from another mother, but actually, like something up, some I don't know, different honestly. Didn't live with us. He'd come visit, but after Dad passed away, I don't know how often he really did. I mean, his life was actually, I think, yeah, he'd only been in Australia for about a year or two, and any Australians that we have watching, I don't know how specific I want to be, but wouldn't it be funny if you knew him? Not that there's anybody watching at the moment, but he was in the band Gearling for quite a number of years. Now he's a producer. Anywho, and I got an email from him today, and I thought, what would he say about some of these things? Like, oh, like it wasn't before because I didn't even know she had an urn, and it wasn't because it was a friend, and it wasn't immediately after, but I do sense that when that moment, I was in a headspace at the funeral, right? And wasn't wanting to stand there long. There was people behind us that wanted to, stand by her picture in her urn for a few moments or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of like, as we get a view, it's kind of like she later shared with me that, she was standing behind it and pretty much said, hey, hi, kind of thing. You know, and I think she said a couple other things about that day. So yeah, what I would personally believe, but then, what as a viewer, that just a little bit. What I would personally feel is that as long as you're not having the funeral like the same week they pass away or the celebration, but then this particular person, I remember I was in the bedroom. I was already in there. And I, just laying in bed, looked at the phone. I was looking over the sites, and I was like, "Oh my god, no," or whatever. And then, literally, and this was someone that was pretty. When I look back at it, I am not surprised. This was someone who was pretty close to me. Maybe not as close as she was with a lot of people, but we definitely had something special. And I found as a viewer. So we don't have anything special to do. No, kidding. Was there for just like a moment or two. Anyway, or came back. Sorry, so I'm just attentive to it. I'm not, but do feel free to comment. I don't. I don't have a lot of time today, so I'm just working through the topics quickly that we can delve deeper into later. But you're certainly welcome to comment on what is said. Yeah, basically, she had me. Her soul, I felt, had me come that day. Some of you may have seen the video, and do music, which there was some irony in that, but it was kind of like, we met kind of over music. We shared music with each other a lot, and it was kind of like it was a bit of shocking disbelief. Like, I'm wondering if a partner said, "Who made this a tribute page?" Sarcasm may have been a way he was dealing with it. I don't know. Dealing with the loss. Because maybe he did. And he's just like, no, I don't believe this. Because that's something I've thought of. And again, I'm still human and it's hard. But as a medium, mostly for myself at this point in time, it's just how it happens. And I guess, yeah, certain things. But it really is special. And until you've had experiences or been close with someone who has, you can't say. And I have had, and it was kind of like, so it's hard. It's sometimes like a shock at first, but I sometimes honestly feel no need to feel jealous because I often also don't feel, but that I'm sometimes closer with people when they pass away, with loved ones, and sometimes it takes a lot of time. Like, it's interesting. Like my dad, I was gonna tell people in the group room, but I just haven't gotten to it this morning. My dad, I was telling someone who I talked with in a thing. I'm mostly glad it wasn't podcasted. It was just a call. We're going to do a podcast in the future, possibly on her channel. But it was, my dad passed. Actually, I was already 12, if I think about it. because when I did the math the other day in my head, I thought I always used to say I was almost 12, but no, I think I was just um, okay. I'm sorry. I'd like to know. I'd like to know, man. I was born in 86. He passed in 98. So I would say that's 10 plus 2, 12, right? um, and he passed 2 months before my, I guess, 13th birthday. Yeah, I guess that's what it was. So maybe because I'm slightly superstitious, it's just maybe my angels, especially him. He used to be the one I used to hear from the most. Now I just haven't heard from any of them, but and I do hear from them sometimes. And I've shared that because I think it's interesting, and I think people can get healing from it, even if it's not their own loved ones. But yeah, basically, it's I'm just worried that the dog's doing something. We just got a viewer. I'll be right back in just a moment. Just a dog sometimes gets into trouble when left unintended. Don't we all? Buddy, what are you doing? You want to come upstairs? Come on. Come on, then. What are you doing upstairs? Come on, buddy. Come on. Oh, you're coming. Oh, isn't that ironic? Okay, go in there. Okay, I'm trying to cover these topics fast. I'm not used to rushing. I would have started right away if I'd known. It is quite warm here. With the heat off, I don't want the fan not to work, but we'll be having an AC on. So that was ironic. Gotta share that. Getting nobody here at the moment, but gotta share it anyway. So I went to get a dog from downstairs, if that wasn't obvious. And sometimes when he comes upstairs, he almost always runs up the right side of us, And there's sometimes a couple things on a couple steps. He just, not that he makes a mess or things, like he almost hops over it, or I don't know what he does. But anyway, and I've noticed that, not super consciously, but that he always goes up the right. Today, and I came up the stairs the same way. He comes up the left, other side. See, it's things like that. So people sometimes can say, oh, I don't feel my loved ones with me. It's sometimes little things, and you just a matter of being aware of them. But in a way, it's also kind of, well, I know she is. I mean, the first workshop I attended, there was somebody with her unique first name, said the same way, because there can be different ways, 2 or 3 different ways to say it, sitting right next to me. Looked nothing like her, but same name, sitting right next to me. Like, I mean, yeah. So, but anywho, basically, so I kind of forgot exactly so basically, yeah, they can. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, there's the, felt her presence a few times before the funeral, including, I was still a beige, still after it, but, went to the funeral, saw the tribute page, and I very much know that she has passed away. And it isn't because of going to this place, which is, connected. But yet sometimes I'm just like, really though, like she was so young, kind of thing. But yeah, so so they had hers like a month after she passed, and then a month after that, or maybe 2, it was her birthday, and it's getting close to a month since her first heavenly birthday. But yeah, basically, but like I said, my dad, and I feel like I was doing okay. Obviously when I first found out, but I was a kid. Maybe actually, I can't believe we didn't say this to Michelle the other day. Very possibly because, a lot of kids are receptive to that stuff, and some of them watch certain, not that they're similar. Horror movies are not similar, or they watch certain things, this and that. That's, just what the media does. And that unfortunately gives it a bad rep sometimes too. Makes people scared, when most of the time they don't have to be. But yeah, basically, maybe my dad just felt, he's a kid. I want to let him enjoy his childhood. Obviously, this is going to affect him. I'm going to wait to visit. And then the high school years actually weren't bad. And then, for the most part, and then, so maybe he was seeing that and realizing it's interesting. He had one of my former classmates ask me something quite often, and many years later told me that it was also a bit of him in which makes me actually, when I think about it for a moment, think, what is this? Was this? I think he was trying to see if this other person was telepathic because maybe didn't I wasn't picking up on things, or that was just the way he decided to do it. Although it could have been perceived a certain way, but it really wasn't that bad. And I didn't know this at the time. But so either he was just doing it or he's telepathic as well. um, and actually, I think I was just coming out of high school when Burke had a CD called Children of Telepathic Experiences. I must ask him about that and how that album got its name. So I also worked with Kylie Minogue. Anyway, but I don't have time right now. But yeah, and the dogs were put away, and you might start being noisy soon. And I really should try and get a quick shower. And even though I'm putting fresh clothes on and then walking, I don't think it's raining. But yeah, basically, yeah. So I mean, and then I moved where I live now. Was having good times. And then things started to become a bit more difficult, and I was trying to figure a lot of stuff out, and blah 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 blah. And I can get more into it later. Boom. My mother was upstairs sleeping already. I was a night out at the time. Boom. And I felt him. But like many years later, like into my adulthood with it, whereas with Renee, like I found out a week after, I think it was 25th January, and it was the night I found out, and boom, right away. Not in great detail, mostly got me here doing music. Maybe a couple little things were said, just little small comments, and yeah, but so. And there's all kinds of talk and research, whatever you want to call it, about this and why maybe some people pass quicker, or fully pass quicker than other, or fully as they do. It's not that my eyes aren't open and not very aware of things, but I just wanted to kind of state. I've talked about my brother a couple of times in this, who has lived in other countries and geographically been distant, and in some ways otherwise. Basically. And then I'll get my lunch afterwards because I'm not doing a lot this week, and most of it's my home later, and it's a short week because of the holiday. But so if something did sit out, or I could keep the fork in them, keep it in the fridge. If something did sit out, I'd probably be okay, but I could wait. So, I deleted that part in the comment area that I was typing, but so one of the things my brother said today, and I don't know if I've somewhat sort of tried to allude that, things are challenging, like I've been stuck in unemployment for a while, every now and then I find like one-offs or, short opportunities or whatever, the jobs here and there. Mental health, we can get more into that later, no need to be too uncertain, you left, whatever. And that I do and don't feel like I've tried. I don't remember exactly how, but I don't know if something prompted. I'd have to look that I said or what. But he happened to share with me. I was always under the impression that he'd get one job, he'd finish it, a very short gap, and then he'd get the next one. He's always constantly getting opportunities, and he's built a name for himself. Although he's moved to different countries, even though he can do it digitally somewhat, and that, I don't know, that might make it challenging. Anyway, and he said he actually happened to say in his email that, the life of a freelancer, which Dad was actually one, and I've been trying to be one, and it always seems like the right thing for me, even if it's not always, successful, because other things aren't either. Sometimes, other opportunities and a lack of degree in this that. But anyway, pretty much was saying, it's always this uncertainty after a job when the next one's going to come, essentially. And maybe that's also stating that he lives with some anxiety. I didn't know. He seems like a pretty calm person. Not that people with anxiety don't have calm moments, but, and again, we've had, not necessarily a bad relation with each other, but distant geographically and sometimes in general. There's probably a lot I don't see, and I always wondered that. And so that was interesting. Now, for the final topic before I rush into the shower, 2 hours could go fast. So I do kind of want to go there near the top of it. Get there before it rains. Might be walking back in the rain. Don't know. We'll see. But yeah, being suggestible. Just really wanted to quickly speak on that. Basically, I'll get this stuff afterwards. I'll leave the light on. That reminds me of one of my music videos. But basically, I should open that window at some point. I never know we're going to hear it if you can. But it's also hard. There's big plants in front of it, and it's kind of tight, so I let them do it. But being suggestible, I'm thinking of certain types of media that I try and I want to be kosher, but they are still certain types of media. But in general, and part of it could be ADHD, such and such. Like I went looking for something looking to look up something on my phone, but when I went to the site, it started showing me other stuff, and I started looking at that other stuff, and it was interesting. I told myself, it really doesn't matter what it is. I'll do this. Sometimes I'm looking for suggestions or, it's whatever. Don't have something else I'm thinking of doing as well. But man, when you do, it can be kind of frustrating and annoying. And I'm sure I've noticed that before, but I felt like I was even more attuned to it. So thoughts on that? And I think this is a good spot to wrap it up. So I gotta go. We'll talk to you later. Might come back last time afterwards, do some eating and whatever else. And yeah, okay. Not like, just like anonymously. Yeah.